Hello, welcome to my channel. I am Deep. Today we're gonna discuss an apology for poetry written by Sir Philip Sidney. Sir Philip Sidney was a critic, and his an apology for poetry, also known as the defense of poetry, was written in 1579 to 1580. It has at least one great claim to fame. It is the first work of literary criticism in English. Sidney's essay is an apology for or defense of the art of poetry. But Sidney was inspired to write it for a very specific reason. Let's take a closer look at this landmark defense of poetry prior to Renaissance. An apology for the poetry and its summary. Sidney's defense of poetry is in part a response to the Stephen Gossam's school of abuse. Gossam was a Puritan, and his school of abuse was polemical pamphlet claiming that the poet led people astray and preached immorality. Given Sidney's own fondness for the poetry, he would go on to write one of the first substantial sonnet sequence in the English language. It is unsurprising that author of the Astrophel and Stella would leap to the defense of poetry. Gossam even dedicated his pamphlet to Sidney without Sidney's permission, which is one surefire way to provoke a strong response from apology. Poetry is about a rule of the poet in society. Sidney takes pains to demonstrate that all the great civilizations of the world have valued poetry and the work of a poet. For Sidney, poetry is not merely part of civilization, it is civilization. Poetry is civilized and civilizing art form. Sidney goes on to explain why this is. Poetry can bring you closer to God. It can give the right honor to the heavenly maker of that maker, who having made man to his own illness, to his own likeness, set him beyond and over all the works of the second nature, which is nothing. He showeth so much as in poetry. Here the word show is being used as a showeth. Don't get confused. And you can use here he shows also, but it is in Old English, he showeth so much as. God is our maker. The poet is a kind of maker too. And indeed, the word poet has its root in the ancient Greek meaning to make. Means the poet. The poet means maker in the ancient Greek language. For Sidney, poetry is an art of imitation, as he pointed out Aristotle in his book Poetics, the very first work of literary criticism in all of the Western literature, said as much. Poetry involves metaphor. Metaphor is a form of imitation, comparing one thing to another. Poetry is then a speaking pictures whose aim is to teach and delight. And teach is an important word for Sidney, for he acknowledges, indeed insists, that poetry should have a didactic element. It should inspire noble and moral behavior in the reader. In a famous quotation, Sidney asserts, "Nature never set forth earth in so rich tapestry as Tiber poets have done, neither with so pleasant rivers, fruitful trees, sweet-smelling flowers, nor with whatsoever else may make the too much loved earth more lovely." Her world is praised. The poet only delivers a golden words. In other words, poetry is superior to nature or reality. In that poet always overlay the world with gold, depicting it in an idealistic way and so present it in a better light. Sidney is also aware that a reader is more likely to listen to a moral lesson if poetry delivered that lesson is actually entertaining. And here, the poet has the advantage over the philosopher. Sidney: I say the philosopher teacheth, but he teacheth obscurely, so as the learned only can understand him. That is to say, he teacheth them, they are already taught, but poets. But poets, by contrast, can reach people with this who aren't schooled in philosophy and impart valuable lessons to them. An apology for poetry and its analysis. Sidney is writing before the great golden age of the Elizabethan theatre, where there are so many historic figures like Thomas Kidd, Christopher Marlowe, Shakespeare, Ben Jonson. But the theatre was growing art form in London at this time. And before that, communities up and down England had been entertained during the religious festivals by the miracles and mystery plays which dramatized usually in verse events from the Bible, such as the Nativity and the crucifixion, arguing that the poetry is superior to philosophy. Sidney also shows that it is a superior didactic tool to history. The problem with history is that has to stick to what actually happened, and moral lessons are always easy to derive from history, especially when all uh, uh, evil things are the evil relation over the good. What kind of a moral message does that send out? But in poetry, Sidney argues evil doesn't get success. Good always overcomes it. But there's more to it than this. Indeed, Sidney uncovers a startling paradox about the differences between the poetry and history, whereas poets and playwrights never lie. Yes, you read that right. Historians conversely do lie all the time. How can that be? Sidney explained this by saying that for writers of fictions such as poets and playwrights, it is actually impossible to lie because they never affirm that everything they say is true. They are presenting their writing as a fiction, so they are not pretending to deal in fact. If you offer a story to readers and imply, I made this all up, although what follows is fiction, essentially one long lie, you as a poet are not lying because by coaching your narrative as work of fiction, you are admitting that what you offer up is untrue. But the historian, by contrast, proposed to present the reader with practice. So as soon as the play fast and loose with those practice are smooth over certain details or cast things in a favorable or unfavorable light depending upon their own biases, they run the risk of lying. Because historians, unlike poets, affirm things, they lie as soon as they can offer something which is backed as a fact, but is not actually true. But is not factually true or actually true, right? Master stroke is one of the most famous and influential parts of the Sydney's and apology poetry. It is counter blast to not only the Goson's assertions that the poet is the mother of all lies, but to Plato's all the objections to the poet. In his book, The Republic, arguably the first work of utopian literature, even literature ever written, on the grounds that poets are untrustworthy because they make things up. Poetry is democratic art, accessible to those who are untutored, uneducated in philosophy. And poetic drama is perhaps the most democratic of all. Poetry requires a reader, and a reader needs to have been taught to read, so those who are illiterate, who are uneducated, are still shut out from it. But drama bypasses the needs per the audiences to be literate. All that drama requires is a spectator rather than a reader.